This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Yeah, usually this is a throwaway segment because I always be like, who cares? And I know you're always into every year. You're like, who's going to get extended? Let's do predictions. I'm like, does it even matter? So I figured this year I would give you your moment. And
well, it's not my moment, it's the rookie class's moment.
Well, your moment for this segment.
So this
as opposed to it being a throwaway.
I'm not the one who's going to wear the cap and shake hands with the commissioner, unless I'm the commissioner of my own podcast, which, I mean, that's debatable. Let me say this. If you look at that 2020, so we're talking about the rookie extensions for coming up this summer. This year's lineup is the 2022 draft class. This is probably going to go down, Adam, as one of the strongest in the last 10 years.
I would not argue with that.
We'll talk about the names, but I'm looking at least 7 people that might be all-stars at some point in their careers.
I wouldn't go that far.
No. Paolo, Chet, Jaden Ivey, Sharp, Daniels, Jalen Williams, Duren. Those guys could all get at least one all-star nod, at least. And there's other names I didn't even mention. It's going to be interesting. The last year's rookie scale based off of the actual cap was 5 years, 225. I don't know the numbers for the rookie supermax. There's a really good possibility that Cade Cunningham's going to get that. The way you get that is you have to either win Defensive Player of the Year or MVP, or you make All NBA. That's how you win that award, or that's how you get the extra money. For this year, I don't know the exact projection, but it looks like it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of like 5 for 240 or something like that.
I think this year was the biggest beneficiary of the double tax line and teams not moving players as freely as they used to.
Because the amount of money due to these guys, yeah.
The fact that they're all cheap and there's only, let's just start with players who are not eligible. Mm-hmm. Starting with Johnny Davis, AJ Griffin, who retired, Jake LaRavia, David Roddy, who's on a two-way with Houston, Marshawn Beauchamp, who is now on a two-way with the Knicks, or was Wendell Moore, who was on a two-way with Charlotte, Patrick Baldwin, who was on a two-way with the Clippers, and Ty Washington, who was on a two-way with Phoenix.
So what you mean by that is all the other first-rounders that you didn't mention, they're still with their original teams.
Now, I wouldn't go that far. There has been some movement, as you had mentioned, Dyson Daniels.
Yep.
Okay, so they're not on the original team, but all the teams picked up their fourth year. You know, that was the problem with Jake LaRavia, was Memphis is like, no, we're not picking it up. Therefore, he's not eligible, and Sacramento can only offer what would have been the qualifying offer as the rate, which he's probably above that. Yeah. So I have the list of all the names. So we will go with your prediction and whether or not you think they will get one, as opposed to just previous years would be who's going to get one. And you would just say Paolo, Chet, Jalen Williams. And then that I would just call it a day there. But now I'm going to give you time to go through all of them.
Okay? Oh yeah. Cause I do think there will be some finagling where because of the tax apron, they got to get creative. They're going to have to figure out ways to stay under it.
So which way would you like to do this? Would you start with, you want to go with the most likely to get one to least likely? You want to go?
Let's go with most likely to least, so that as we get to the
we're going to end with the crap and just be like,
it's not the crap. It's just how much are they going to get? You know?
Okay. So first we'll just go. We mentioned Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, Paolo Banchero.
Here's the thing. So Paolo, absolutely. They're eligible on July 1st, June 30th, whenever free agency opens. This is when you're eligible to sign the extension because you've played, I believe, your third year, going into your fourth. Paolo's going to get it. Paolo's also going to probably be on the cusp of, if he makes all NBA or
he'll be super maxed,
all-star, whatever. Yeah, he might get the rookie super max, which a few players have gotten. Trae Young got it. Luka Doncic got it when he was a Maverick. Kate Cunningham. There's a couple others. Shea got one. So yeah, definitely. The thing about Chet and Jalen is that they play on the same team. Now they do have the cap room to make it work, unless Sam Presti wants to get creative and he signs and trades one.
Are you expecting that? I
It's
just thought it would be
possible if Giannis is in the equation.
I just thought it would be two maxes, period, and then
I
figure
think
out
they're
the
going to
rest.
get creative. I think Chet's going to get less because he's not as much of an offensive threat as Jalen Williams. Like, I think Chet is going to get something in the neighborhood with incentives of 5 years, 210 or 200. He's going to get less than Jalen Williams. Jalen Williams is going to get maxed. I'll say that.
Okay,
I just don't think they're going to give him equal deals. I just don't see it.
I thought you just gotta max him.
Hey, Place to Be Nation, Adam here, dropping in. Had a little issue with the record here, so I had a little part that dropped out that affected Jabari Smith and Keegan Murray. So we had basically said Jabari's not going to get an extension from Houston because, well, he'll be part of a bigger trade. And then the new team, perhaps Milwaukee, could give him a new deal. Or considering he's the fourth option now on that team, I don't see him wanting to sign a deal there anyways. As far as Keegan Murray, he is the fifth option on Sacramento, so they would probably be looking at Corey Kispert numbers, and he'd be like, no, I was developing. Then you just brought in all these scorers like DeRozan and Levine and made us Chicago West, so I'm completely marginalized now. You've stunted my growth, and why would I want to sign a deal here? Because I couldn't see him getting a ton of money. That's what we ended up with. So, back to the show.
Okay, so moving on to Jaden Ivey, Detroit.
Jaden Ivey struggled his first 2 years. And it may not have necessarily been his fault. You know, the coaching probably was a big part of that. Monty Williams did not like him. Whereas
he played 30 games, and he looked good in those 30 games.
Yeah, but is he going to get at the same level of what? Because if you look at last year's crew, Jalen Johnson got a similar deal where he's not struggled, but he didn't really show a lot his first year or two, and then he busted out in his third year. I can see the same I can see a 5 for 150, 5 for 175 for Jaden Ivey. I don't see a rookie max.
I thought his range right now was more the 4-100.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of.
It's possible because of the inconsistency to start his career.
Just the injury, and obviously they don't have to sign it. But
just to be clear, when we talk about last year, Cunningham, Mobley, and Barnes and Wagner were first in line. Those were the guys that got the rookie max. Now, you weren't necessarily 1, 2, 3, 4 in the draft class, but those guys got the max. So we're talking about, we already have 2 people that we think are going to get it. You think 3. You think Paolo, Jalen, Chet. I think Paolo and Jalen will, for sure. But we have other names to talk about.
I meant just day one extensions. They'll sign it immediately.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
You don't think Chet will be
I think he'll be a day one extension. I just don't think he's going to get the same amount of money. I think he's going to get just a shade less.
Okay. Benedict Mathurin, injured. He's off the bench.
This is important because of the team he plays for, which is Indiana. They also have to, the first thing is he won't be the top priority because they have to deal with the free agency of Miles Turner. And Turner's going to get a raise, and they don't want him to leave. So Mathurin might have to sweat this one out for a month or two, but so that they can figure out how they can do this without going too far into the tax. I think they're going to go into the tax. Would you agree? Indiana?
No.
You don't think so?
Indiana does not go into the tax, and they've also said they don't plan on going into the tax.
But listen, Adam, you got the Halliburton one. You sign the extensions for Toppin and Nembhard. You're going. Siakam got the veteran max last summer. Turner's going to get his money. So where does that fit for Mathurin? Mathurin's going to have to take less. He can't get the rookie max.
I don't think he was expected to get the max. The question is, what do you think he's going to get, or what do you think his value is currently?
5 for 150.
That seems to be your answer for everything. I
I know.
also said 4 for 100 for him
Yeah,
because you already
I could.
have a starting core, if you will. And
His offensive upside is so high. I could see an offer sheet going above 5 for 150 though. I can see it.
okay, Shaden Sharp, Portland,
I
the
actually think
Enigma.
I think he's gonna get maxed. Actually, I think he's gonna get the whole thing.
I am completely on a different end of the spectrum.
Okay.
I don't think he will. I don't know where. I don't know where. Why would you say that?
Because they're going to have the room to make it fit
But
because they
regardless of
might
anything,
not
do you think he's worth it?
uh from an athletic level, yes. From a production level, he's had so many injuries that it might clip him it might clip him when they do these negotiations. But I think Portland will ignore that because they finally had a modicum of success with Sharp getting more minutes, and they're going to double down on it. That's just my opinion.
I see that if they gave that the way Toronto
And I
gave
just
quickly
think that he'll be a first priority one guy. I don't think Anthony Simons is priority one. I don't think Scoot is priority one. Jeremy Grant, I think they're going to try to shop him. And Aiton is going to be off the books by then. I think Robert Williams will be off the books by 2026 when the new Sharp contract kicks in. So they actually have the room to make it work.
okay, I had a much lower number, but this is your segment, so I will.
What number did you have?
I had him sort of in the 375 to 80 range.
Oh, I could see 3 for 100, like Jalen Green got.
I don't see him at that level, but
You don't?
okay.
Okay.
He was healthy this year for the first time. Dyson Daniels, the
Here's
disappointment of New Orleans, the pride of Atlanta now.
Yeah, we got fleeced again thanks to DeJounte Murray's fleeced 2 teams. He fleeced 2 teams. Here's the thing about Dyson Daniels in Atlanta. First of all, unbelievable third year. First, he played in the Olympics for Australia as a starter. Looked good. So people knew, okay, he's improving already. Then he actually won MIP in the regular season, which was, I guess you could call an upset. Here's the thing. Once they sign the deal, Adam, and you start crunching the numbers together in Atlanta, because you got the Okongwu extension already kicked in, you got the Jalen Johnson extension, there's a couple other bigger contracts they have. We're going to figure out whether or not they really want to keep Trae Young. Because if they sign Dyson Daniels to something over $200 million, you're going to be over the tax with the Trae Young deal, and you might not want to keep him.
You think he's a $200 million player?
He could be, because of the fact that
You are just giving out money left and right.
Well,
this
is
year.
what these NBA GMs do. They're all drunk in the summer. They all give away money.
I had him in the sort of your 150 range, sort of between 25 and 30.
I see 5 for 200. I see 5 for 200. He's probably going to fit. His final year salary will be somewhere in the 40s. But the thing is, I don't know what that means for Trae Young in Atlanta. Because if they give him if they give him 200, which I'm being generous about, then you got to move Trae Young.
They're out of money. Yes,
they have to move him. So that's kind of the interesting part for Atlanta. But he's going to get paid. He's going to get a lot. He's not going to get the max. He's not going to get what Paolo's going to get.
All right, Jeremy Sohan.
This one's interesting. You gave the extension Devin Vassell. Some people thought Vassell got overpaid, and I don't remember his number. I want to say it was like somewhere around like 5 for 150 or something. Was it like 5 for 100 or 5 for 150?
5 for 120 ish. Or
I could see the same for Sohan. Sohan's offensively is limited, but he does have defensive prowess, and he plays a lot of minutes, and he does a lot of intangibles. He kind of reminds me of the Wolves player Jaden McDaniels, who got a pretty fair deal in Minnesota when he was up for his deal. So yeah, I could see that. I could see the same deal that Vassell got, pretty much. You also have to think about the Wemby extension coming up, which will be a rookie supermax.
I don't think he's going to get an extension, period.
Really?
From this team.
And why is that?
Because if they're in trade talks and they're looking to upgrade, you're obviously not going to have a big major extension kicking in.
I can see that. Now I can see him having to wait a couple of months to get his deal. That's for sure.
I see it coming from a different team. I don't see San Antonio giving it to him.
Yeah,
other
but
than a sign and trade.
But they are gonna throw him a qualifying offer. Like it's not a situation where San Antonio knows Giannis is coming there.
Qualifying offers don't count because they're all mostly expected to get one. If you don't get a qualifying offer and you're still on the team at the end of your 4th year, it's sort of just what happened.
The only player there is a Spurs player that might happen with, and that's Blake Wesley.
We will get to him. But those are players you dump at the trade deadline. Like you'll trade, let's say.
Yeah, but you're saying he's not even going to get an offer.
But that's like saying, let's just trade Blake Wesley for Dalen Terry. I'll trade my garbage for your garbage if they come up.
No. I'm talking about Sohan. You said you don't even think he's going to get the offer.
Oh, I don't think he's going to get an offer from this team. I think they're going to he'll get the qualifying offer, but they'll wait to trade him, and that new team will give him the contract.
That sounds similar to what happened years ago with Colin Sexton when he got traded for Donovan Mitchell. So, or he got
they're just holding his cap number. Yes, you take the qualifying offer, like Golden State did with Kuminga.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he's going to be just
for those who don't know, the reason why a cap hold is important is that these rookie scale contracts have gone up so high since the new television contract that once you get into the 4th year, you can use their cap hold. If you send them a qualifying offer, you can throw that into a trade for a superstar to balance out the money. That's why it's important to have the cap hold before you sign the deal.
No. I know Sohan's going to he'll be a restricted free agent. But the question, we'll quickly just go to the back of the list and say for San Antonio, Brenham and Wesley, they're not going to get offers. So why wouldn't you trade him for a Dalen Terry? Why wouldn't they flip him for Peyton Watson had a decent playoff run, so he might, but we'll get to him later. But I'm saying, why would you trade him? Why would he be on your team if you don't plan on re-signing him? He's not part of your future. That's all.
I just feel more conventional where it's like, okay, we're going to keep our young future here and they'll sign him. That was my vision.
That's when you do a Blake Wesley or Malachi Brenham for a Ousmane Dang, who won't get anything. I don't even think he'll be on the team.
You already have 2 guys that are going to get big money on their rookie class. Jang is going to get left out.
He only played.
Ironically, Jang got a pick ahead of Jalen Williams.
Yeah, but 11-12 doesn't matter. It's the same. It's whose name do you put down first? That's completely irrelevant. But he only played 10 minutes a game in 37 games, so he's garbage time. He's out of the rotation. No, we mentioned Jalen Williams. Jalen Duren.
He is going to get extended early. He's very important to Detroit's core for sure. Without him, they would be a worse team for sure. They can't start over at center. I don't see a situation where they trade for a better, a veteran center. He's going to get paid. He does have his limits. He's a poor free throw shooter. He's not offensively gifted.
He's a throwback.
He's a high field goal percentage guy because he dunks everything. He hook shots everything. He's a great rebounder. He's almost like DeAndre Jordan.
Nice double-double machine already.
I would say, yeah. I would say probably he'll get 5 years, 4+1, something like that. But I think Ivy will get more than him.
I have him in the 5-150 range.
Possibly. That's kind of similar to what Jaren Jackson Jr. got about 4 or 5 years ago. Kind of similar cap scale wise to that. So I can see a similar deal for him. He's a very good center. He's very important to Detroit. They don't want him to walk. And I can see them risking the offer sheet, but I don't know if a team with a lot of room like Charlotte or Brooklyn, I don't see them throwing big money like that.
Okay. We have a curious case here with Ochai Agbaji.
Abaji might actually have to get his extension later on, somewhere around the months of like September or August. He'll just get randomly announced. I think it'll be somewhere in the range of 3 years, 50 million, something around
See,
45.
I have him like sort of 330. It was a
Really?
nice story, but
You know what? Actually, come to think of it, because of the Raptors tax line issue, because they signed the extension to Ingram along with the big money they already have to Barnes and Quickly and Barrett. That actually could get negotiated, but they might have to play hardball with Abaji, and this is probably going to trickle all the way into the later months.
okay. Mark Williams. I
He,
have
he might get traded.
not a chance from Charlotte.
Yeah, I think Charlotte will actually try to trade him this time.
Well, they did try to trade him and wanted to trade him. It was the Lakers who felt embarrassed and then sent him back. So they're going to ship him out again. So whoever,
but the new team, but there'll be a back end promise from the new team. So I think he'll get something.
I don't know.
Four for 80.
I just said he's not going to get one from Charlotte. I didn't even put the mental energy into it because
into the second team, get whatever they offer.
yeah, because that's a team who would obviously want him. It's not going to be a salary dump.
You know, I'm gonna be honest with you. No one knows the real details of what happened with that Laker physical. I think the Lakers fudged the numbers. I think they claimed he failed it because they just didn't want him after all.
Well, of course they did.
I think Mark Williams physically is in perfect shape to be a solid NBA center. He's flawed. He's got attitude problems.
You can't say you failed your physical and then he goes out and plays 2 months.
Right.
Period.
And he gets monster rebounding numbers. He also can get to the free throw line. So, but that was on a bad Charlotte team, granted. But he's got a future. He's going to play in the NBA for quite a while. He's a physical
who
specimen.
knows? That requires playing games, getting on the court, which he has not shown he's able
foul trouble.
to do.
Yeah, foul trouble's the other problem.
All right, Tari Eason.
They're in a crunch with their cap space. They're also probably going to be knee deep in Giannis rumors all summer. He's a wait and see. They like him. But the problem
That's why I think he would survive.
He could, but I could see him in a situation similar to remember that whole saga when Anthony Davis was in the trade rumors to the Lakers and they were saying we don't want to let Kuzma go. I can see the similar scenario where it's like, well, we have this deal, but the linchpin is that they don't want to let Eason go.
I think Houston has so many people. You can put an offer of Şengün, Smith, Reed Shepherd, and Cam Whitmore to cover up
and keep Eason. It's possible.
That's why I think he might be safe. And under that sort of assumption, maybe I would say like a Kispert deal, 460.
Yeah, because Kispert. Yeah, you're saying that because Kispert got that deal last year. Yeah, that's possible.
That type of money is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't see him in the 480
and
Eason
range. Eason had a lot of injuries when he went to Houston. He missed almost an entire year the year before. He's a good player, though. I don't know if he was in. I don't know how many votes he got for Sixth Man of the Year, but he was a very good reserve for them.
I don't believe he was eligible
because he actually had starters minutes, or he didn't play enough minutes.
He didn't play enough games.
He's a good player, though. He also can shoot threes. I saw him at LSU. He was a transfer from Cincinnati, and I could tell. I was like, this guy, he's got a lot of talent.
Okay. We mentioned Dalen Terry, Malachi Branham. Not going to get anything.
Probably not.
Well, we could also say Blake Wesley. I'll say.
I think Branham will get money before Wesley does because Branham played more minutes.
I think neither will. They're both moving on. I'm just going to sort of bounce around in this bottom little four. Denver with Peyton Watson. Now he, again, with Dalen Terry and Peyton Watson, we didn't think Zeke Naji was going to get any money, and they somehow signed him to a 4-year, $32 million.
Denver is a little past the tax already. They might just pull the qualifying offer for Peyton Watson. They might just let him. He was the last pick.
But he played more than the rest of them. He's the sort of the second
No,
on the
but
list.
knowing the Nuggets, they're going to try to find a veteran power forward, and they're going to try to fit him in using the mid-level exception to stay
Okay.
under.
Nikola Jovic. He
Jovic,
played, he showed potential, then he got hurt.
Mhm.
Miami had rotation issues, and shall I say Miami sort of had culture issues?
yeah, it depends on what they can do with Wiggins. I think he's got to wait. I think he's going to have to wait a little while to see where that team is at in terms of their cap room or how far from the luxury tax they are. Even minus Butler, they still have money on the table. They can buy out at half the price Duncan Robinson for his last year of his salary, but it depends on if they want to. I already mentioned Wiggins. You got a Tyler Hero deal that's kind of big. You just signed last summer a veteran max for Bam Adebayo. I don't know how much he can get. If I had to guess at the end of the day, he might get like a 4-year, $60 million contract.
So generous.
You forgot the biggest Denver player. Are you saving him for last?
I'm that's why I said I was jumping around at the end. And you said 4 for 70 for Jovic?
4 for 60. 4 for 60.
Okay. That does make a huge difference. Okay, yes, Christian Braun.
He's gonna get a lot. I'd say 4 for 100.
See, I think he's not going to sign anything because we're going to have sort of a Kuminga.
That might be offer
situation.
sheet mania. That might be offer sheet mania right there.
I think his people want 150, but Denver will be like 4 and under 100. So 4 and 95.
And I hate to say this for Braun, he might have to wait it out until the season's over next year. It's possible.
But I could just see another thing of, well, I'm a cornerstone of this team. You drafted me. You shipped out KCP. I'm contributing. You should pay me like I'm going to be.
He's very important to that team. Absolutely. He averaged 38 minutes a game in the playoffs.
Okay. All right. And then last on the list, Walker Kessler. One day he's treated like an all-star. The next day he's treated like a two-way player, and he's a cornerstone of our team. We're not trading him.
They have the room. That's inarguable. They have the room.
But on one day he's a cornerstone. We're not going to trade him. He's untouchable. And the other day of what you offering? So I can't gauge what they would pick or if he even is a part of this team. I think they might just sign him to make money work because they need to sign some players and they can't just have everybody on rookie contracts. So I kind of think he'll be in the 4 to 80, 4 to 100 range.
That's possible because they actually, like I said, they already have the room to do it in Utah. If this is a deal that kicks in at the end, which will be after the 25-26 season is over, they don't have to worry about it because the Collins deal will be over. The only one that they have on the books is Lauri Markkanen. Lord knows if Lauri will even be on the team by the time we tip off 25-26. I mean, that's a 50-50 proposition at this point, knowing Trader Dan. So, but yeah, I do think he's going to get paid. I think a lot of players, there's a lot of teams, Adam, that I do think will want him. That's another part of it. Like he'll get an offer sheet in that range if it got to that point.
Okay. And finally, just two quick names who aren't on this list, but we'll just add them for the fun of it. Kuminga and Giddey. What do you think happens to them?
Giddey will get the money from Chicago.
Well, Chicago has to. If they let him go and they lose him,
they're stupid. Right. I agree with that 100%.
Also, do you see anyone really coming in and needing him that bad and wanting to pay him? I don't think
the problem for Giddey is that defensively he's good, but not as good as people say. But offensively, he took a leap.
I think the problem with him is I don't see him as a natural fit on every team.
Right. Kuminga's going to be part of a sign and trade.
Where?
I don't know where. Charlotte? I don't know. Maybe get Mark Williams. I don't know. There's something's going to have to happen.
Just where do you think he's going to go? Because both of those guys are.
I can see him, and I see him on a team where they have the room to make it work. Brooklyn, Portland.
Kuminga, I imagine, has to be a 2+1
Charlotte.
sort of a Jalen Green type deal. I can't see a team being like, we'll give you 3 for 1 or 5 for 150.
Philadelphia, maybe. The problem with Philadelphia is that they're gonna desperately try to stay under the apron again because they don't know how good they're gonna be. Depends also on who they pick with that draft pick. So there's a lot there. Can I throw one wild card at you?
Go ahead.
The first of all, the ones we don't have to talk about because they already got their extensions. Max Christie got a small deal with the Lakers when he got lumped in the Anthony Davis Luka trade, the infamous one, and Andrew Nemhart already got paid. Andrew Nemhart was one of those rare Gilbert Arenas types who was a second round pick and shined from the first year from after his second year. 2023 second round guys, there's only one who's on the table that I think might get the money now, and that's Toumani Camara with the Portland Trailblazers. I don't know how much he'll get, but I would say probably somewhere 4 for 60. He's a very good defensive player.
Okay. Again, this time, this was usually a 2-minute end of episode throwaway segment. I figured I'd give you your full time for this class. So
yeah,
it only took 11 years for me.
I'll say this too. I'm looking at 23. Victor, Brandon Miller, the Thompson twins are going to immediately get super rookie max contracts.
I don't know. I wouldn't go that far because Brandon Miller's
a 20 point per game guy already. I don't see Charlotte just letting him walk.
He also didn't finish either of his first 2 seasons.
Victor signed his the moment he got drafted, and the Thompson twins, their stars rising so high. They might be the best or second best players on the team by the time we get to that point next year.
That's all. All right. So for Andrew Reich, I'm Adam Murray. Have a good one.
Take care.